Hi, this is Chief Education Officer Bill Olson, and welcome to another Merrimack School District update. I have some interesting news for you today, and also a very special guest who I'll introduce in just a couple of minutes. Well, as you've heard me say before, this is budget season. One of the key elements of developing the budget is conducting some listening sessions with our staff. And our two assistant superintendents, our HR director, and I have been going around to our schools. We have scheduled meetings, voluntary meetings after school with our staff, and we've had some wonderful conversations, because if I want to know how to improve an organization, I'm going to ask the employees for their input. And in this case, we have great professionals in our school district, and we've had some very good, some very energizing and inspiring conversations with some excellent suggestions. You know, in my office, I probably have 100 books in a closet on how to improve public education. Well, if I want to know how to improve public education, I'm going to ask the people we employ, our professionals and our support staff, our paraprofessionals, our nurses, our maintenance and custodians, and everyone else in the district, because everyone matters and everyone contributes in some way to the development of a child. And so their opinions are very important. Their perspectives are very important, because we all see things through a different lens, and it's important to understand everyone's views, everyone's evaluation of what we're doing in terms of what we're doing well at, but also very importantly where we need to improve, because we're not shy to have those conversations, because every organization, whether it's in the private sector, in the corporate world, or the public sector, such as a school department, needs to continuously improve to address all of the current and emerging needs of the world. So we're enjoying the conversations. In fact, I have another meeting this afternoon after the filming of this cable program with the Reed's Ferry staff. We had a great meeting last year with them, great participation, so really looking forward to that. Just a couple of quick notes. I'll be discussing the bullying statute at the next school board meeting. The school board asked me to give them an update on the statutory language. I'll talk to some bullet points that contain information, and important information for parents to know about the bullying statute. You know, not every situation that happens in any type of environment, whether it's the workplace, or in a public school system, not every situation represents bullying. There are specific criteria that the bullying statute requires to be met. You know, as our legal counsel has said to us on several occasions, the application of discipline has moved from interacting adults and children at the local level to being statutory in nature. Sometimes that's helpful. Sometimes that makes it a little bit difficult also, because the bullying statute does not allow us as school personnel to share information with parents. And that's probably the most frustrating element of any type of bullying situation, is the law does not allow us to say who was the perpetrator, what happened, and what, if any, repercussions might be arrived at. And so I understand, believe me, I've been in this profession for many, many years. I understand the frustration of parents. And so hopefully I'll provide a little bit of information. We're not going to get too deep into it, but I'll provide a little bit of information to allow you to understand a little bit more succinctly the statutory requirements of the bullying legislation. All right. Just a couple of notes. I want to congratulate some of our students who were recently at the New Hampshire Music Educators Association Jazz All-State Band and Choirs competition. The Honors Jazz Band, Hikari McDowell, alto saxophone, took the top score in the state of New Hampshire. Hikari also received the top score for tenor and baritone sax, which is absolutely amazing. So congratulations to Hikari. For those of you who are of my age vintage, or maybe a little bit less, I could see Hikari playing with her. Those of you who know the group Tower of Power, that is an incredible brass group and extremely strong saxophone section. I grew up enjoying Tower of Power music, and every time I hear a great saxophonist, I always think of that particular rock group. With jazz band, Owen Sabins was recognized for baritone saxophone in the Honors Jazz Choir. Julia Hodgson for soprano voice, and Colin Plum for tenor voice, and in the jazz choir, Tristan Plum for tenor voice. So we congratulate students for their outstanding accomplishment, and I have to congratulate our staff, because our staff works very, very diligently with our students, and our fine and performing arts programs, our music program, our theater arts, are all extraordinarily important to the development of a student. We oftentimes in high schools talk about sports, but music and theater arts are incredibly important and very, very developmental in nature for our students. In terms of sports, lots of good sports news from Adam French, our athletic director. Volleyball has clinched the first place spot. The first time since 2016, is looking to earn a top 4 seed with a couple of games left to play. The girls' soccer has picked up 3 wins in the last 2 weeks, and JV girls' soccer team ended with a 7-2-2 record. The freshman boys' soccer team is 5-1-3, and the JVs is 9-3-3. So great soccer competition and records this year by our high school students. The boys' varsity soccer team is 8-3-3, and has clinched a home playoff game that will take place later this week, on October 30th. It will be next week, about a week from today. The field hockey had a 5-win improvement over last year. Constant and continuous improvement. Okay. Cross country has their state meet coming up at Derryfield Park in Manchester. And the varsity spirit team came in 2nd place. And the JV spirit team came in 1st place last week at an invitational tournament. And right now, it's winter sports registration time, so we encourage our students, sports and other activities, as we've always talked, is very important to the overall development of a child. Learning about teamwork, about dealing with adversity, which is very important in life, because it's extraordinarily important for our students to learn how to handle losses, and that failure, and I don't mean that in a negative sense, certainly, but losing something or failure, even in a grade, is part of life. It's not fun, not enjoyable at the time, but it's part of life, and we learn from that. And so all of the activities are designed to help our students continue to develop, continue to collaborate, bring about a strong school district culture. I want to recognize also the fact that 4 of our high school students are offering French and Spanish to upper elementary high school students after school, after their high school day. And I commend them. We'll have their full names at our next session, because I do want to properly recognize them. But this gives you an indication of the quality of young adults that we have at the high school, and not only a function of their development in the school system, but what you have done in terms of your parenting of your children. And in this case, 4 outstanding students who are volunteering their time to go down to the upper elementary school and teaching French and Spanish to our students, because we reconstituted that program through the budget process this past year. So my congratulations to them. Lots more that I could be reporting to you right now, but I want to shift gears a little bit. I have a special guest who I have to say I think extraordinarily highly of. Finnegan Haddad, known as Finn to most of us, is a high school senior this year. He has also just been elected by his peers at the high school to be the student representative to the school board. So Finn will be sitting at the table with us at every school board meeting, and hopefully we won't get you out too many nights. And welcome, Finn. Glad to have you on the program.
Thank you very much. I'm happy to be here.
Tell me about what made you interested in running for the position of school board student representative to the school board, and did you do any particular campaigning, or did that just kind of fall into line?
So I think in terms of the campaigning, for a long time I've worked with some absolutely incredible students at our school to try and increase civic engagement and to ensure that we are all pushing forward, like you said, gradual incremental change, but always pushing forward. And so I think when it came time for those very students to vote on who we think should be a student representative, it ended up being a good place. In terms of the position itself, it wasn't something that I particularly felt strongly about doing, but I felt its importance to be able to provide accurate information to the board was just immensely key to that gradual instrumental change, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if we're going to have students working to continue to push the culture of the school and the ability for our programs to go forward, then we need somebody who's communicating effectively with the board and communicating effectively with administration.
Good. You are our boots on the ground, eyes and ears at the high school. And I think sometimes over the years, people have tended perhaps not to give high school young adults enough credit for what they know, what they observe about the world, and their opinions. And I've seen you in several different forums, and I have to tell you, Finn, I've always been impressed because you are a calm, confident, intelligent speaker. You tend to have nerves of steel, from what I've observed, because there have been some times when I've observed you speaking, and you're as calm as can be up there, and just you don't miss a beat in terms of what you're going to say, how you're going to say it. It's always diplomatically perfect, and so I have great admiration for your ability to speak, and you have a great voice. I was kind of kidding the cable personnel that you have a great voice for radio, and so maybe that could be a career someday. Tell me about what courses you like at MHS.
Yeah, so this year at MHS has really been incredible. This is the first year that I think I've designed a course load for myself that has been not a lot of hard work, but all consistent things that I'm passionate about. And so I'm incredibly lucky to have found a series of key staff members who are willing to, whether it be in a regular class, go above and beyond, or through Harley Hall's ELO program, create independent studies or extracurricular learning opportunities where we can go over specific material that either they or I have a passion for. And so, just throughout my day, we are consistently evolving, whether it be in physics, whether it be in material sciences, whether it be in ceramics, our skills and our learning. So I'm really happy about this year.
That's terrific. It's very important that you have a good balance, and every student has a good balance of courses. Sometimes it's more feasible than at other times, but it's important that you be able to take some courses that you're really passionate about. Because that's, if you were to read the book, Creating Innovators by Tony Wagner, who's been a long-time Harvard professor, one of his tenets is that it's extraordinarily important for students to be able to pursue their passions. Sometimes that's easier said than done in public school systems because there are certain standards that we have to meet. But we want to try and be as flexible as possible. There's where the extended learning opportunities, the ELOs, come into play, that are amazing opportunities for all students, basically. Are you involved in an ELO at the present time?
Yeah, so I have two ELOs with two different staff members who, like I mentioned, have gone really above and beyond. And I mean, in terms of an improvement plan among the students. I think we all see that ELOs as a direction are really quite incredible. And so you talked about some of those standards that we have to meet, but still wanting to remain flexible. And there's a decent chunk of us that feel that ELOs can definitely be a way to do that moving forward. Because especially over the last decade, we've seen that all different types of students are learning differently. And so if we have a way where different chunks of students can learn in the way that is most suitable to them, we hope that not only will school be more enjoyable, more engaging, but that students will end up having significantly better learning outcomes by the end of their courses.
You know, you could be a superintendent of schools someday. I hope you know that.
Well, you started out as an engineer, right?
Yes, that's right. And you talked about Mr. Hall. When I first started here in Merrimack in the 2021-2022 school year, I met with the high school administration, and Mr. Clare was brand new at that time. It was his first year, and I talked with the high school administration about what type of alternative programming we had for students for whom 5.5, 6 hours a day in a seat, listening to oftentimes a lecture format, or certainly lively and engaging discussions, was just not their thing. It wasn't as relevant as they needed. And I found out that we weren't offering anything. And so I said, well, the next year, in the 22-23 school year, we're going to have something. And he has done a masterful job. And strong support from our school board, budget committee, and the staff at the high school, administration at the high school. I'm very proud to say to the people of Merrimack that we graduated 12 students this past June who otherwise would have dropped out of high school without a degree and diploma, I should say, and we're very proud of that. For years and years and years, we've sort of had the model that, well, here's the program, you have to adjust and adapt to it. And as you just indicated, that's not what we should be doing. We should be understanding what interests students, what is the most effective mode of learning, how do they learn best, and adapt and adjust what we do because you're our customers, and we need to adjust to that and adapt to it. So I'm glad that that is working very, very well, and we look to continue to grow both the alternative program and the extended learning opportunities. I'm not going to ask you to name a favorite teacher because that's not a question I want to pose to you while you're still in school. But when I interview people for jobs, I ask them to name me a favorite teacher, and it takes them about 1 to 1.5 seconds to name that. And I'm sure that in your educational experience in Merrimack, you've come across at least one or perhaps several and more.
Several, yeah.
Who have great meaning and have brought great meaning to you, and who have connected with you, who have shown that they deeply cared about you, inspired and motivated you, who have believed in you and helped you believe in yourself. And so after you graduate, I'm going to ask you that question, okay? And but not right now. And
we'll have to set a few hours aside because it's certainly more than one name.
I'm sure. And this is where we talk about the power of great educators. We've all had them. I know I've talked to you in the past, our viewing audience, and saying, you know what, as those of you who are viewing, as we're talking about this, Finn and I are talking about this, you can think immediately of a favorite teacher or teachers you had in life, and it's that common denominator, that they made you feel special. They encouraged you, they motivated you, they inspired you, they believed in you and helped you believe in yourself. They could tell certain days when you were probably not having a good day, and took just a second or two, to spend a little extra time. And I'm sure that's happened to you, saying, Finn, are you okay? And, is anything I can help you with? And I'm sure that's happened throughout your education career. And that's where it's people connecting with people. Not only about education, but in terms of deeply caring about
Yep.
you as a person. And, you know, someday when I wind up leaving this profession, because this is year 55 and I still love it, that's one of the things I'm going to reflect on the most is those people in life that I've known, who I've worked with, and have brought deep meaning to students and caring and connecting with students. And there is no substitute for that. All right, so in terms of courses, what are there any particular courses that you or other students at the high school feel that you would like to have that we're perhaps not offering at the present time?
Yeah, of course. I think you and I have talked previously about our startling lack of engineering courses. We don't have a ton of things that can meld math and sciences. We like to almost kind of keep each department separate, and I think for the world that we're going into, that's just not super feasible. I mean, we're going into a world where you need like I'm looking at a microelectronics degree, which is physics, material science, chemistry, all melded into one. And so there were great programs like science and art combination programs that we no longer have at the high school. And so looking at kind of broadening the different departments and allowing them to collaborate, whether it be a teacher from English and a teacher from social studies, or a teacher from math and a teacher from science. Being able to do that for students, I think we could get some really unique classes, and it would certainly have to be in a trial format. But I think we could end up offering things that almost no other school does in such a unique manner that students would end up really loving it.
Oh, we're going to have some more discussions about that also. One of the things, if I had my choice, I'd love to bring a CTE program to Merrimack High School. It's just the way it is structured, not only in New Hampshire, but other states also, with being on a regional basis. It just can't serve the number of students that it needs to, and they are such valuable programs. About 10 years ago, Finn, was participating in meetings of the Mass High Tech Council in Massachusetts. And the chairman of that happened to be a Westford resident, and that's when I was the superintendent of schools in Westford. And the Mass Business Alliance for Education in Massachusetts did a survey of about 1,000 different companies, and 65% of the respondents said, we need people, we need workers with greater levels of vocational skill. And so we're not meeting that goal right now, and we need to. And it's interesting you talked about the kind of the melding of science and art. I mentioned Tony Wagner's book, Creating Innovators, a few minutes ago. What Tony Wagner has said is that for too many years there have been sort of two separate and mutually exclusive focuses, as one is on science and engineering, one is on arts. Well, if you combine those, you have people with different capabilities, different intelligences, and it creates a very rich, innovative series of ideas, recommendations, thought processes. So we're going to have some more discussion on that, because I value your thoughts on that, and if we want to get together another group of students,
absolutely,
let's do that.
And even some faculty members, have expressed some frustration about. Sometimes the only option for students is kind of this linear model for just English, and how are we going to teach English? And so those are the types of things that I think it's been done that way, and I know that's not an excuse for you, and it's not an excuse for me, as it's always been that way, right? Well, let's change it tomorrow.
Let's break the mold.
That's right.
Let's break the mold. And I'm glad to hear you mention physics as one of your courses, because I happen to be of the opinion, and have for many, many years, that every single student should be required to take physics, because there is nothing we do in life that doesn't involve some principle of physics.
Yes.
And extraordinarily important. I know that when I was in Westford, one of the things that people used to rely on before was weather forecast, because meteorology was always a great passion of mine. But I would look at certain somewhat more sophisticated weather sites and apply the vector analysis to movement of weather fronts. And I can remember one year in Westford, I was looking at the vectors associated with the directional vectors associated with a storm front, and our graduation was scheduled for 5:30.
Yeah.
So I called the high school principal and I said, look, based on my observation of this weather site, which is very reliable, I'm going to recommend we hold off graduation till about 6:15, because I said sometime between 5:30 and 6 o'clock we're going to have a huge storm, but it's going to clear out immediately. Well, at 20 minutes to 6, the skies opened up, the winds became about 50 miles an hour, blew all the seats on the field over, but it cleared up immediately. So, principles, certain scientific principles are very interesting to me in terms of its application to decisions and decision making in life. What are you involved with activities at Merrimack High School?
So at Merrimack, there are a series of activities. We do have really great extracurricular programs that are driven by our students. So I'm part of the Chop Shop 166 robotics team.
Yep.
I believe we are in 30 years of that program, and we just recently went to Plymouth, New Hampshire, and won the Governor's Award at one of their events. I also participate in Model UN, so that's essentially you become a mock delegate for a UN delegation, and you go and you have to debate and have conversations as if you are that delegate. And there are a variety of other, incredible programs that I participated in. We have Backgammon Club. Thank you. We have Quiz Bowl, which is essentially a trivia group. And so, there are all different types of activities that a bunch of different students participate in. But I'd say probably my main two are our robotics club and our Model UN.
Terrific. We have about 1 minute left, and let me ask you about college. Certainly, you've begun the college search. Have you narrowed it down to a particular core group of
you're
colleges
asking
or
tough
universities?
questions. There is certainly a group that I'm looking to apply to. We are always expanding out. I did it a little bit differently. I found, a core couple that I was definitely going to apply to, and then we begin broadening it out, which is a little bit different than other people have done. And so, we're always evolving, always looking. November 1st is my first couple of deadlines. So certainly a very stressful and anxious process to work through, but slowly gaining ground.
Do you feel comfortable mentioning any colleges or universities?
Of course, yeah. So I'm looking at RIT and RIT specifically because
outstanding school.
They do an incredible thing that we were talking about earlier in terms of combining their arts programs and their science programs. So they have really great performing arts. They have glass blowing studios, they have ceramic studios, and those are all things that I would love to utilize even with an engineering degree. So
Rochester Institute of Technology is one of the most outstanding schools in the country. We have about 5 seconds.
Wonderful.
You have been an outstanding guest.
Thank you very much.
Enjoyed talking with you always, and follow you and your success through Merrimack High School for the rest of the year.
I appreciate it.
Thanks, man.